Welcome to Sine Qua Non News. I'm your anchor, persona non grata. Our categories today are dollar under attack, dictator's prerogative, and the destruction of credibility. Let's start with the dollar under attack. The dollar is under attack, but by whom and for how long? The first blow against the dollar started in response to COVID-19. The government locked the country down and turned the money spigot on full blast. Then Joe Biden became president and promptly shut down pipelines and oil and gas production in the country. Just like that, we went from being net exporters to net importers of oil and gas. Spending continued onward and upward. So the USA drew first blood and second blood when it comes to devaluing our currency. Interstage left, and we have the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Then Europe and the US stopped their purchasing of oil and gas from Russia. After the U.S. has tried to crash the ruble with sanctions and debanking of Russia, Russia has said it will only accept payment for oil and gas in rubles from Europe. This is the real first attack on the dollar as the reserve currency. But it is actually not that big a deal, as the Russian economy is about the size of Florida and is more symbolic at this juncture. Many claim that the first attack on the dollar as the reserve currency was when Saudi Arabia decided to sell oil to China and yuan. This is false because the Chinese yuan is pegged to the dollar. The destruction of the U.S. dollar and the U.S. economy bears a cost too dear for any other major economy in the short run, for the other economies would suffer as much, if not more, than the U.S. economy. Nevertheless, we should never underestimate our government's ability to screw things up. The long-term solution to having a stable economy is taking ownership of the money supply and removing stifling government intervention into the affairs of the economy. The government may print dollars, but it is the productivity of the American people that make dollars valuable. Pieces of 8 were the currency of trade almost up to the 20th century, even though there was paper currency. It's time to take that power back. The government has proven beyond all doubt that it neither has the will nor the expertise to properly manage the money supply. It has lost that privilege. I would think that a decentralized crypto coin like Bitcoin would fill the bill. I would also think that barter would be much easier these days since everyone has access to a computer to easily calculate. I could easily see where there was an app for this. This has to start with people who demand that businesses fulfill these transactions. There is no need to wait for government to make a public proclamation regarding this. We determine the means of exchange. Should the government claim a great reset and introduce a new currency, there will never be a clearer sign for us to revolt. To make this claim is to admit failure. If you fail, you must resign and leave office. You can't confess failure and remain in office. I'd say you can't confess failure and stay in the country. I still can't understand how the talking heads and media don't understand this. Next, we move on to dictator's prerogative. This is the strategy of finding an enemy to attack when things aren't going so well at home. So you can blame them for your problems and sell that to your people who are usually gullible enough to believe it. If there is one thing people can get together on, it is to blame all their problems on someone else. And now we see this strategy being employed by the Biden administration. Inflation is all Russia's fault. We need to spend more money to help Ukraine. The war is so important that we shouldn't even discuss all those biolabs researching dangerous biological diseases, etc. in Ukraine. At what point do you recognize or admit that you have a tyrannical state? Do you have to wait until you have a dictator? What if you already have the war machine, bureaucracy, intelligence, and media apparatus to support the tyrannical state? You have all the support structures in place and operational, and all you're missing is the dictator. Let's close with the destruction of credibility. You can see this everywhere, whether it's in politics, government, social media, mainstream media, justice, banking, or even our schools. Credibility is further undermined when there is no acknowledgement of the truth, no regret for lying, and no contrition or action to repair the damage done to victims. There are no repercussions. This has done more to damage our faith in basic humanity than anything else. And it should. Mutual trust is the foundation of relationships, both personal and business. Without it, it is an exercise of the leverage of the strong over the weak. It is far too early to give up the ghost in this environment. Don't feel resigned to having to stay in such a relationship, or it will corrupt you too. Go somewhere else and find a trustworthy relationship, whether it is in business, personal, or politics. We are basically at the point where staying in the same or worse relationship is the worst outcome and most likely outcome. So give change a chance. For Sine Qua Non News, I'm persona non grata. Please spay and neuter your politicians. Good night.